in general, I think as moms, our role is to create, a safe spot for them and a safe place for them. And that means also online. And also in their digital world. And I think we want to be a safe spot for them. We want them to feel cozy and all the things we want home to be and to our families to be. And so this is just the extension of that. We just want to create open communication. Ideally, we want to give them what's appropriate, just like historically how we've taught anything, riding bikes, driving cars, swimming. We do things in steps. And so I think it all follows what we've already been doing and what we already know, which is to create it from a loving place to protect our kids and to provide to parent them in the way that they need to be parented to be their best selves and focus on the things that's important to them.
Hey moms, welcome back to the Gather Moms podcast. I am so excited to tell you today that you're just going to be hearing from me, but it's really not just me because I have a special guest with me today. Her name is Lori and she works for Gab. And we are so excited to talk about what that means. Moms, you know that it has become a huge part of my platform to talk about screens and technology for our children. And Lori is an expert, and I'm so glad she's here with us. So, Lori, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here. And I just have to say at the start, just so grateful for Gather Moms because at the start, it's just we are here to help each other. And as moms, I'm here as a mom today, too, just to say we're all trying to figure out what's best and trying to figure out what's best for each kiddo and family. And so just grateful for the community that you've created because it's just like a non-judgmental space. We're just trying to all do the best we can. So
That's right.
Super excited.
Thank you. That's so kind. Okay, well, tell our moms a little bit about you. You know, I know you're a mom, so tell us about that. And then tell us what you do at Gab.
Yeah, so I have two teenagers. I have a freshman and a senior, and our path there has just been trying to navigate. I think yours and our kids that was kind of the first generation of like, how does this work?
Yeah.
And so it's a topic that's near and dear to my heart. But my professional career has been around fundraising and nonprofit management, and so most of my career has been in raising funds for cancer research. And so the through line to this point is in the area of being in service to causes that break my heart. And what's breaking my heart right now is and what we're talking about a ton among friends and groups is mental health among youth and making sure we're helping parents navigate this digital age, because parents have been navigating a lot of things for a long time, but this is all pretty new. And so I think it's really worthy of my time as a nonprofit professional. So Gab is a safe tech for kids company, and then my role is in community impact. So I'm scaling our philanthropy and our give back programs. And so we'll be starting that. We'd love to share it when we launch it in 2025. So Gab will be giving the devices, and then we'll be kind of crowdfunding for the service. So kind of what's happening now, like, hey, let's help this mom out. They're going through something hard. And so that's what we'll be getting going next year.
That's really cool. I'm glad you're
Yeah.
doing that. That's neat. And that's cool to hear
I'm
your
sure.
heart. Yeah, I think, so many of us, I mean, we have these blessing mamas that are in their 20s. And so some of them aren't necessarily, they did have some of this tech in their childhood, but even still, it's still not at the level that our children are experiencing. I think for you and I, Lori, we had an opportunity to have a break from screens. If you wanted to call someone, you picked up a telephone. If you wanted to watch TV, you were probably watching the family TV in the living room.
Right. Right. Yeah.
If you wanted to use the computer, it was a real effort to dial up and, nobody else could be using the phone.
Right. Right. I know. It was a real blessing. And we're trying to get our kids back to that state in some way. Obviously, we're not anti-technology. You and I aren't anti-technology. Our company is not. But it's just trying to figure out what's the right tech at the right time. And I think anytime you're on a screen that's so small and has so much, and you're sort of insular, as a parent, we just got to get curious and just say, is this in service to their goals, and how can we help them navigate it? Because that's really what we're here to do, is just empower parents and one another to say, okay, how can we navigate this? Because it becomes kind of their own little insular world, and we want to be a part of their worlds and help them. So
Yeah.
it's uh, it's actually really an exciting time. I look at it as like an empowering time because we can have these conversations and really chat with our kids and learn from these young moms. And 20 somethings are the best people to talk to about what they wish they would have done
Yeah.
differently or what they wish their parents would have done. And so I love chatting with other 20 somethings that say, "Oh, I don't want my younger sibling or my own child to have this exact situation that I had." So when we know more, we do better sometimes.
Yeah.
So
No, and
it's an exciting time.
yeah, I agree. And that is what they're saying. That is
Yeah.
what, our younger moms are saying because they have seen it. I feel like for so many of us, you and I both have teenagers now. It it all happened so fast,
Yeah.
and just was like an accepted part of kind of how we were doing things. And now we're watching, I think I'm so thankful for the anxious generation and the work that Jonathan Haidt did to help bring our attention to, hey, we've been now seeing the repercussions in the mental health of Gen Z, and going, okay, we knew it was the technology, we just didn't know what to do about it. But I love
Yeah.
that you talk about it with hope because I agree with you. It's such an exciting time. I mean, I never would have thought that my children would be able to learn Spanish in the
Right.
summer
Right.
because they can just get on their Duolingo app.
Yes.
You know,
Yes. It's amazing.
I didn't have that
I know.
opportunity. Um,
And the way they work creatively with the, different apps, and as they get older, that's totally appropriate. When they're little, maybe not so much. But yeah, I think over time, as a parent, you kind of know what's going to serve them. And Gab does have, I should have mentioned, so we do have sort of this philosophy of tech in steps. And so we have, a traditional smartphone, an adult smartphone is not necessarily what is best for a little one. And so there, we have a new category. So we have developed and designed a watch and phones that are specifically designed for kids. And so what that means is maybe a wearable. So I actually brought them here. A wearable phone, which is a watch. It's not on, but yes. So this is just like a wearable phone. So it's
yeah,
like, hey, mom, I'm outside.
cool.
Um, just calling and texting, and then to just a phone, which is just a first phone. So it's calling and texting, no social media, no internet, and then a teen phone, which is kind of what you talked about. So Duolingo is on here. Or the parent has the opportunity to add it. And then we have a whole music app too that's been designed specifically for kids, which is super exciting because music's really important. There are ways you can stream and be using apps that are wonderful. And having music in the backdrop of studying is great. But being distracted by it and having it pull you away all the time is maybe tearing you away from some of the things you want to focus on.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And I love tech in steps, and that mindset around it because it's not all or nothing.
Right.
But we
Right.
can give it to them in steps, and there are more options than just giving them a fully loaded phone with all these things available to them. So let's talk a little bit about I think our moms are aware of some of the
Mhm.
dangers that we're seeing with technology, but what are you guys seeing as far as what are the biggest threats to our children right now as they're working through screens and dealing with technology? What are you guys seeing?
Yeah, I think what we're hearing from parents is maybe they're doing parental controls, but it's just not really working. And so I think what we're hearing is parents are sort of overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And so they're looking for simple solutions. And I think that we just provide one of those options of just something that's a little more simple, because there are these options that grow over time. What I'm also hearing is, I think we all are aware of so much darkness out there that's happening online. And I think what we want to keep our kids safe. And so one of the things we're hearing or that's alarming to us is an increase in sextortion. And I don't want to dwell on it too much, but essentially it's just an awareness around this sense that there's an organized group of people that are trying to take advantage of um, of kids who through social media. So we think of predators being at the park and things, and really they've moved online. And so what happens is a teen or a tween might be communicating with someone that they think is someone else, and they think they've developed a relationship and they've really gotten comfortable with this person to the point where they're sharing really personal things, like photos even. And that's a mistake to share something like that. But what happens is then that person would use that against the child and ask them for money. And that's just horrific. And so we just never want to put kids in a situation where they can interact openly with strangers like that. And when they're not ready and they're not developed enough to realize that's not a person that is real.
Yeah.
And so, I think what Gab is here to do is to create this environment where they're protected from things like that. And then as time goes on, then when they're ready to be on Instagram or to be on other things, they have a protective factor because they have a sense of, they've been, I don't know, I guess with anything, it's like they have had a gradual introduction to it. So they're in a situation where they can see things more clearly, I guess, in a way. And that, I guess, sextortion is probably the thing that breaks my heart the most right now, because it's increasing, especially among young men. And so we just want parents to be aware of that, and not, hope is not all lost. We want to create environments so our kids come to us if something like that happens. Shame is the biggest thing we want to avoid, because that's what shuts down kids. And then there's troubling things that can happen. So we want kids to come to us. So we want to create conversations that create safe spaces for our kids to come to us.
Yeah. No, the sextortion thing, I had not even a concept that was happening until you and I had our initial conversation.
Oh, really?
And you brought it up. I was absolutely clueless. And, although with my kids, I have talked to them about, we don't talk with random people online, and we have our things set up so that, that wouldn't happen. But I know there are loopholes, and I know there are ways that they could potentially get through that. And it really raised my awareness of, okay, I need to make sure I'm having a very clear conversation with my children about the predators that are out there. So interestingly, thinking back to our childhood, do you remember, there was this whole stranger danger campaign when we were kids.
Right. Like there's going to be like a van at the playground, right?
A van at the playground offering you candy.
Yeah.
And so we learned, because that was a problem during, our childhood in the 90s or late 80s of children getting taken. And so there was this educational campaign about, hey, this is how kids are getting taken. This is what you do when you're out in public. But to your point, exactly what you're saying, that's not the mechanism they're using anymore. And we need to be teaching this stranger danger concept to them online. And it's so much trickier because it's not a shady man in a van.
It looks like a lovely girl their age, but it's not maybe sometimes who they think it is. Yeah.
Yes.
I know.
And so what you explained to me about sextortion is that, they become friends with this person, and they create this bond, and they're really grooming them to a certain extent to kind of be ready then to, when they do make this ask, they have groomed this child into thinking that this is going to be, this is good, this is the next step in our relationship. And so then they ask that child to send a nude picture and an appropriate picture, right? That's what you're saying, just to be very clear.
In some cases, yeah. And I don't even know if it would be considered grooming, because it feels real to them, right?
Sure.
Like, so if I'm the young man in this situation, I'm having a conversation that feels very real.
Yeah.
Maybe they haven't spoken on the phone, but they've DM'd so long that they feel like they know each other. And there really are sort of scripts for some of these things. And so these groups know what work. And I don't mean to be an alarmist at anything. And that is something that's happening. And so I think just knowing that there are other options to protect kids, to have a device that maybe doesn't open them up to those situations is important. I've had friends go through this. And so I'm really speaking from like mom to mom, like this is happening out there and it's increasing. And so I think the Surgeon General, different groups, the FBI, they're sounding the alarms and they are aware. But it's just good as moms to know and have these conversations for sure.
No, that's great. just because I didn't know anything about this, so I'm
Yeah.
going to
Okay.
close the loop on this.
Yeah. Yeah.
What then happens to that child is after they send that picture, then they get a message saying, we are going to publish this image unless you give us this amount of money, right? That's what's happening.
Typically, that's what it is. They'll say, yeah, they will say, we are, you need to send me $500. I have your Instagram follower list. I know what church group you're in. I know your friend group. I know who your principal is. We're going to send this out. And so that is the moment where the kids you know, just in a shame spiral and typically is just trying to figure out how to make it right.
Yeah.
And so typically we have a whole article on our Gab Now blog about it. We can put in the message because I think there's a lot of great information there about what to do. And so typically it's like obviously block and contact the authorities
Yeah. Yeah.
and don't
No,
send them.
you guys do. Your blog is good. You have
It's
good
really good.
resources and good things that you guys are thinking through.
Mhm.
Your social media is actually good too. So you guys put out a reel that I really liked, and it was somebody going around the office and asking everyone, "Hey, what platform would you not allow your kid to be on, knowing what you know from working here?"
Right.
And so there
Yeah.
were various answers. Do you remember some of the answers?
Yes, I was ambushed right here in this very office, and it's like right then, and my knee jerk reaction was Snapchat, and that for me is just a not yet for my kiddos. It's not maybe not forever, but in that moment, that was my honest answer because I was wrestling with it with my teens. My daughter had come to me a while ago and asked for it. She was so nervous to ask me for it that she wrote it on a note on my phone and then left it on my phone. And I read it when I was boarding a plane. And thank goodness, thank God that I had a person next to me, random stranger that sat next to me that was in her 20s. And I said, I literally said, my daughter at this age, 13 at the time, she wants Snapchat. Do you think it's for kids? And she was like, that's a hard no. That's a hard pass. And I was like, interesting. So I just this person, this teenager or this 20-year-old just talked to me about their teenage experience. And so the reason it's a not yet for me is, there's obviously vanishing messages. There's like this just urgency, like kind of fake urgency to be connected all the time. And then there's this sense of like who your streaks are with. And she was explaining to me her personal experience had been that it had not served her well. It had kept her addicted to her phone and in a comparison game. And that the people that she was tied to were sort of loose connections and not deep connections. And she felt like the opportunity cost of being on that app was wasted time, that she could have been doing things that served her better. So I was so grateful for that experience. But obviously, at Gab, we see the data, and it's not necessarily an app designed for kids, and there's new parental controls that are helpful, and
Yeah.
I just urge moms to get on the app and try it out before they think about handing it over to their kiddos.
Yeah. Well, and I've been interested. I haven't researched yet the Instagram teen
Yes.
app. Have you looked at that at all?
Yeah, we've been looking a little bit about the parental controls. We have an article on our blog about that I think would
Okay.
be interesting to look at. I applaud some of their efforts to like especially limit people looking at teens followers because that's where people can find the the names of people that are in your friend group and then extort that for you or use that to extort you. So I applaud that. And Instagram's also a not yet, a not yet for me, but I for sure urge people to try things out on their own. And you and I both know how it's working for us and how we feel, and we need to kind of assess what's right for our kid. We as moms, we know what's best for our own kid, I
Yeah.
think.
Well, it is. I think it is a case by case basis. Number
Mm.
one, because you have different kiddos. But I do think it's important for the moms listening to hear you and I say, who are both normal moms out here in the
Yeah,
trenches. I have a
yeah.
junior in high school and he has no social media. And he is thriving. He's doing
Right.
great.
I
He's
am so impressed. I'm so proud. I feel very connected to you because I know it's a little bit of an uphill battle. And I do think it's important to say, I also have a senior who's not on social media and he's doing okay. He loves it. He's loving life. And there's a lot of nonsense that is out there, and he's sort of been able to avoid some of it, which I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
So well done. I mean,
Yeah.
when the time is right, he'll be on it and he'll navigate it, and you'll be with him every step of the way. But for now, it's a not yet for you, it sounds like.
Yeah, and we've said to him, hey, well, some of the really good advice that we have gotten as parents is to let their senior year in high school be a kind of a soft look at
Yeah.
what the freshman year is going to look like. So just a lot more flexibility,
Mhm.
letting them kind of spread their wings a little bit while they're still under your roof. And so we actually it just came up at the dinner table the other night because I was asking the kids, because he said, "Oh, I saw this on my friend's Instagram," or because he was telling me about a reel he had seen. And
Mhm.
I said, and I was surprised that this kid had Instagram because I know his parents, but granted, the kid is 16, okay? So it's not
Right.
like
They're
they're legal age, it's fine.
right.
But I just was surprised. And so then at the dinner table, I was asking the kids, how many of your friends have social media? What social media do they have? And it does seem that Instagram is by and large the big one for them. And I am thankful that the parents in my community are more closed off about Snapchat. For me, that's definitely the one that I'm like, I just don't feel great about it. And so it was just interesting to hear from the kids. My kids definitely know that they are in the minority of
Mhm.
kids that aren't on social. I try and encourage them with like, it's good, guys. Just have a little mystery about yourselves.
Oh, no. That's the direction that we had too, like this air of mystery. Yes, it's okay for them not to know every single thing about you.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Let
Yeah.
them wonder what you're doing on the weekend.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
we don't need to, have that on all the time. And I have a middle school daughter who, uh, her text messaging, honestly, it's enough. It's just enough with the texting. That baby does
It's a
not
lot.
need to be,
Yes.
having to interact with people on a whole other platform. Like, how would she ever get her homework done? I mean, it's enough.
It's enough. I know. I think the group texting is a lot. I think that that's something, to kind of roll out over time. It's just we had this amazing study actually with this school in Indiana. And I think you'd be surprised to hear like these kids, so there are 850 students, I think 250 of them or so, or 130 of them switched to a Gab phone. So they did a little bit of like a digital detox to see how they felt, just to get curious. It was 30 days. And the kids that swapped to a phone that just called and texted, they really expressed this sense of relief from like this other job that they had. I'm picturing these little business people, but they have to like manage this whole other world, right? And so when they were getting their iPhones back, they were like, oh, some of them were crying. They didn't want it back
Wow.
um, because they felt free. And I think that some of the teens, these were high school students, so some of the teens expressed like they didn't have to get ready in the evening and do their makeup and get all ready because they didn't have to get online. They could just chill and chat with their friends and read and just be with people in real life. And it was so refreshing. I think the kids actually, when they have the opportunity to take a breather, they are the ones that tell us like, oh, I feel like I'm chained to this thing. And so I think letting them have a chance to feel what that feels like, I think it was a pretty seminal moment for some of those kids to be like, okay, when I get back on, so they
Yeah.
went from like 5 hours of social media to 1 hour a day,
Okay.
which is, which is a huge difference, obviously, in how they felt.
Huge. Honestly, I have to set limits for myself on
Yes.
on Instagram and TikTok, and I have 1 hour. I get a combined 1 hour between the two of them per day. And I do some of my work on social media, but even
Right.
still, I limit myself because I just, I don't want to look back on
It's a
my
lot.
life and be like, well, I
I love those days on Instagram. Like those were the good old days. Yeah. I
right.
think our best days are usually beyond the screen. And
Yeah,
and our kids, when they describe their favorite moments, it's usually maybe with family, out on a trip,
absolutely.
camping, hiking,
Yeah.
playing a game.
Yeah. So this summer, for our church camp, I was my daughter, one of the leaders for her group, which I do every summer. And between you and me, Lori, like I think I'm I think it's RIP on that. I don't think I can do
You have
it.
like one more year in you or no? No.
I think I can go as like a helper or something, but
Okay.
sis, the bunks, the
hmm
sharing, there
hmm
were
The
30,
shower situation. What was the shower situation?
yeah, there were like 40 girls in 4 showers. And it's just like it's just a lot, and you're like, post 40, I don't think this is the life I'm going to live anymore. Um but
I mean, first of all, thank you for your service because that's huge. When the leader of the girls, like
well, and
that is
I'm
a
crazy
gift
about
to
them.
everyone.
I'm crazy
Yeah.
about them.
Yes.
But one of the things I love that our church did this year is middle school camp. They were not allowed to bring their phones. And so for the entire week,
Wow.
they have no phones. And when I tell you the the joy watching them sitting in the food hall talking to one another,
Oh,
face to face,
yeah.
singing songs, the room
Yeah.
would erupt in song, and just walking around. And so at the end of the week, I said, hey, how has it felt to not have your phone? And they said, hey, it has been weird. Like, I know I have a friend going through something at home and I really wanted to check
Right.
on her. So that's been
Right.
tough.
hmm
Um, but it did help significantly with homesickness because
hmm
kids that we the only kids that struggled with homesickness were the ones that snuck their phones and were texting mom and saying,
Oh, interesting.
i'm
Huh.
i'm feeling homesick, blah blah blah. And then, then we find out they have a phone, because then the mom's calling the camp
Right.
and saying, my kid, nobody cares about my kid, and
Well,
I'm like, I'm right here.
right.
But
Come to me.
she's texting
Yeah.
you because she can.
hmm
Um, anyway, so we got to the end of the week and I was like, girls, what did you think about this? And they were like, we just feel like we're so much more present. We have enjoyed connecting with one another and spending time together. Like, we realized we don't need these things as much as we thought we did. Like,
hmm
life is good without
Life
it.
is good. These kids know. These
Yeah.
kids know. And again, not saying that they can't have them or use them for the purposes that serve them, but they just don't need all of it at once.
Yeah.
And we just need to, just like anything with parenting, we just need to give them some guardrails, give them some boundaries, and help them navigate it. And so I love hearing that because I don't think there's anything better than summer camp. And we want to support summer camps. We want to applaud what teachers are trying to do in the classroom. Like, we are
Yes.
so excited that this conversation has just gotten elevated by the Anxious Generation book and by the Surgeon General. And we've been kind of over here like, hey guys, this is a thing and we're feeling it and we want to provide another option. So it's so awesome to hear stories like that
Yeah.
because childhood is precious. Childhood, you only get one childhood
Right.
and it's worth protecting.
Yeah.
And we as moms are kind of on the front lines of that. And I'm so happy that people are really having this conversation. And again, in a non-judgmental way, but like the collective action of people right now is so powerful.
Yes.
And when moms get involved,
No, and
watch out.
moms, yes, because, and we have to be talking to one another. And I mean, when I talk about this to moms, I look them in the eye and I'm like, we've got to band together.
Yes.
Because, if we'll stand together on this, it makes it easier for all of us,
Mhm.
you know?
And those kids find each other with similar moms. They find each other and they're like, "Oh yeah, I got this phone too," or "Yay, I got this phone too." And it's cool. I have
Yeah.
music and I have, so I think it's really cool to see. I mean, everything I've learned has been from my own mom or other moms in
Yeah.
a lot of ways. And
Yeah.
so I think we are literally on the front lines of this issue. And I believe in moms. I believe that we're gonna do what's best for our kids. And you know, Gab just has one option that might be something that helps them get to the next point
Yeah.
and just walk with them a little bit. So I love spending my time doing this because I think it's important.
It is important. I mean, it's changing their future. Really, when we look at the connection with mental health, if we can help them in this area, we can help them for the rest of their lives. And I do want to talk about I want to talk about the things we can do, but I need us to
Yes.
stop down real quick on a couple of more platforms because I
Okay.
don't think that moms are aware of a couple of things.
Okay.
One of the things that you brought up is on the Gab phone for the teens that there is the option to have the a safe music platform.
Mhm.
One of the things I see with moms is our lack of awareness on the difficulty in creating safe settings for our children around music and podcasts.
Mhm.
So, one of the things that has been very alarming is even if you go on Apple Podcasts, even if you go on Spotify and you change it to an explicit filter, I don't know if you even know this. I was shocked to learn this that your child can find if they typed in sex into that, they can find stories that are
Mhm.
basically what they would be watching on a video being acted out over sound. So they can listen to sounds of sexual acts. All of that is available via podcast. And when I learned that, I honestly was absolutely floored.
It's definitely concerning. Yeah. I mean, I think that we think we're doing the right thing, and it's not catching all that we think. We just can't make any assumptions, is what
Yeah.
I would say. And
Yeah.
so grateful for the Gab music team. These are professionals that have been in the music industry forever. What they've done is absolutely phenomenal because it is a kids specific streaming service, but with the real music, like with the labels. And so it's not, I don't know about you, but I had like not been aware of what Kids Bop had been censoring me from. So when I hear the real song now, I'm like, oh, okay. And so that was like a good option for us at the moment. But I
Yeah.
think kids know they want the real thing.
Uh-huh.
And so we have on Gab Music, we have, all of the artists. We have the Taylor Swifts and the Benson Boones and all the stuff, but it's just the songs that are able to pass the filter. And
Okay.
so that means, to your point, not just explicits, but sexualized language, degrading language, self-harm language, and then also the cover art.
Yeah.
So sometimes the music's okay, but the cover art is questionable, and we screen for that as well. So that team has created really a specific place that kids can go to stream as long as they want, as long as their parents allow them to, and it's going to be in a protected environment that's specific for kids.
Cool.
And I feel really great that we
Yeah.
can give kids what they want, but still keep them in a safer platform.
Okay. Last.
And they can create their own playlists and everything, which
Okay.
is
Cool.
kind of cool.
Okay, last thing I want to ask you about because on my mind we're Snapchat, we're podcasts,
Okay.
and then I think the last one that really comes up for moms is Roblox.
Right.
So, we hear and like in your reel, there were people who said, I wouldn't let my kid have Roblox. Is it because of the social mechanism or like the networked playing with other people? Is that what the danger is with Roblox?
Any, yeah, any app that allows your child to interact with strangers in an unmonitored way is something that we're going to get curious about. And so that is one that there are, again, people who are not children on that app. Um, again, I think that the best thing to do is to go through these apps one by one and put the articles in there so we can give you them
Okay.
the full assessment. But that is the biggest concern, is opening up your children to talking to strangers and interacting with strangers. And there's a lot of stuff going on in Roblox that I think parents are unaware of. And I'd love for them to dig into it more through that article, because it's I think we assume that everything is going great and it's an app designed for kids, but when the world can get on there, there's lots of ways that adults can use that to connect with kids. And I've had experience with parents whose children have actually been sexploited off of Roblox,
Okay.
and they're in a situation now where they're trying to catch that criminal, and it's very hard to do. And it's heartbreaking,
Yeah.
truly.
Yeah. Well, and then again, when we look back on like our childhood, I mean, I was playing Super Mario Brothers or Mario Kart, which by the way, I'm still killer at. I need you to
Seriously,
know.
let's go head to head. I challenge you because, oh my gosh, Mario was my jam. I love that thing.
I still will play my kids, and
Like
I'm like,
connect
you can't beat me.
that and Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, the best. Yes.
But like when we played those, I don't know. So I think sometimes we use that lens because we just think, well, video games are video games. Like it's, it's not that big of a deal, but we're not
Right.
like as moms raising kids in this generation with the internet connectedness, it really is just a different ball game.
Right. We were playing in our living room and it was on the family TV and we were playing with friends and we were eating snacks. And the worst thing that could happen is that we like burnt the frozen pizza in the oven.
Yeah.
We were not connecting to strangers through our gaming. And
Right.
so it's just a different phenomenon. I think, you know, I think it's just at the time, like it's not for it's not for little kids necessarily. And over time you can open up these kind of gaming systems that are more open. And obviously we know that kids want to play. And so we, want to play games. And so we've developed some little games on the apps. Like there's like little things for the watch. There's little coins you can earn by doing chores and things. So we understand there's like this need for fun, but there's certain apps that we just ask people to look at to take a special pass on and get curious about because there are inherent risks with opening up gaming with strangers.
No, that's great. And we'll for sure link your articles in the show notes for these
Yeah.
specific things. I just want to say to moms, like, and this may hit a little too close to home, so I'm going to say it, Lori, so because these people, they know I love them. But if you are creating an account for your child to play and you have to lie about their birth date, then maybe that isn't the way we should go, because first of all, you're setting an example for them that, hey, we can lie about your birthday. Because I really think that Roblox is maybe like 13 or 14. And we have a lot of 8, 9, 10-year-olds who are asking to play it. And so if, just, hey, mama, if you're having to put in an alternate birth date so that you can create an account for your kid to play, then that's probably a sign of, hey, they're not ready to be playing this game. And so it just may not be the best choice for them. So that might have stepped on some toes because I know that there's a lot of kiddos that are 7, 8 that are playing Roblox or these other online games, and I just think it needs to be said. Okay, so let's talk about. I just took that bullet for you so that you didn't have to say.
No, I appreciate that. I think I agree with what you're saying, and I think it's definitely it's a personal choice, and I think at the end of the day, it's like we get the information out there. We provide a tool that's like the least distracting version of that. And that, so our role isn't to tell people what they should do. It's
Yeah,
just more to provide a safer option and a kid specific, because kids deserve devices designed for them. I
yeah,
think they deserve safe tech if they're going to use tech for sure.
yeah. No, that's great. I love it. Good, very good language around that. I love it. Wonderful job. So let's talk about, I would just love to end our conversation on a positive note with our moms to help empower them to do this well. I love the language you use around being curious, because I don't think we want to walk into this being scared.
Right.
We don't need to be scared. There are options out there, and if we can get curious about it, and we just
Mhm.
start doing a little detective work and learning and getting involved in our kids' lives in this area, then we can create positive opportunities for them.
Mhm. Agreed. I think in general, I think as moms, our role is to create a safe spot for them and a safe place for them. And that means also online. And also in their digital world. And I think we want to be a safe spot for them. We want them to feel cozy and say, all the things we want home to be and to our families to be. And so this is just the extension of that. We just want to create open communication. Ideally, we want to give them what's appropriate, just like historically how we've taught anything, riding bikes, driving cars, swimming. We do things in steps. And so I think it all follows what we've already been doing and what we already know, which is to create it from a loving place to protect our kids and to provide you know to parent them in the way that they need to be parented to be their best selves and focus on the things that's important to them. And so if screen time is blocking that, that it's a good thing to get curious about if they're stumbling into things that they're not ready to talk about, or that they're learning about things online that you haven't had a chance to go over with them. And maybe this is that opportunity. Awesome. But it would be great if we could have those conversations at home first, I think, before they're just stumbling into things. And that's really how I feel personally. And I'm speaking as a mom, is just my role is to create a soft spot for them to land and to come back to, and to know they're safe, and to learn. And that sounds like that's what you're doing with the whole concept of the senior year. And that's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to do with my son too. And my daughter. So it's a journey, but I feel like this whole concept of like, well, it's all lost, is just not going to help us, or like the world is gone to, where I think that I feel very hopeful and optimistic because we're having these kind of conversations, and we have tools like safe tech, and there's not just a smartphone now, there's now a category of safe phones,
Yeah.
and we're squarely in there, and it's just an option. So I feel super optimistic about the future.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, and I'm so thankful that it's not an all or nothing choice anymore because of people like you, because of Gab. We can stair step this for them in a safe way that was not available before, and so I'm so thankful for that. My 8-year-old, she has this big brother and sister who have devices,
Right.
and so she's been asking, and it really actually she walks to and from school. She walks with our neighbors and stuff, but I would like for her to have some kind of tech. And so I said, we're going to get you a Gab watch for Christmas or whatever. And she was like, there's 2 girls in my class that have Gab watches.
Aw.
And
They're gonna be like buddies. Yeah.
yes. And she said, I just think that's so neat. So she's so
Oh,
excited to have her
I
own.
love it. That makes
Uh,
me so happy. And
yeah.
I think you have a code, y'all have a code, I think Gather Moms. So I think that's like for the best deal of the holiday. So that's great to share out too. But I love that. And we have new bands. I just saw there's a Star Wars one. So it's exciting. Like I love seeing little kiddos. We go do service work at schools. Sometimes we'll like paint the playground or something. And I love seeing the kids who have it. They're like, look at my Gab watch. And it's really fun to see just the joy, because it's just like it doesn't do much, but it does what it needs to, and that's great.
No, it's absolutely great. Yeah, and we do have a code, and you guys, this is the time of year if you are, ready to get some great tech for your kids that is appropriate for their age level. This is the time to do it because you guys are offering all kinds of promotions, and we have one specifically for you moms. We'll have all of that information in the show notes. Lori, thank you so much.
Oh
Thank
my gosh.
you on behalf of moms everywhere.
Oh, thank you for creating this community. I just love what you're doing, and I'm so grateful because, like I said, we need each other's backs and to learn. I mean, I would have handed the phone out of the drawer if one other mom hadn't been like, "Hey, have you thought about, another way?" And maybe social media isn't great for them. And so I'm just so grateful that we can continue to have this conversation, and that the whole nation and the whole world is having this conversation now. And we're just excited to offer an option out there to help we want to empower parents. That's our whole goal.
Well, you're doing it, and we are so, so thankful. So
Thank you. Thank you.
thanks for spending some time with us
Yeah.
today. And moms, we'll see you next time.